From hero to zero. We're going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, or if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in this section below. It is Tuesday, March 7, 2023. I am documenting this segment of the Gig Geezer as I'm heading to a point pickup opportunity. Tuesdays are a day in which I've shared many times that I put in maybe a half a day at most. And I've gone out already once for a total of about 45 minutes and made $30.04. And now I'm heading back out on another point pickup opportunity that's paying over $36. And hopefully I will accomplish this all within about an hour. So basically less than 2 hours, making $66. With that said, we're talking about hero to zero. I've said regardless of whatever a person accomplishes at the end of a day, at the end of a week, at the end of a month, or even at the end of the year, there's always a unit of measurement that is consistent after which, and that is you start at zero once again. Now, what I mean by that is I'm going to share a couple of life experiences that I hope you'll find applicable. Now, I've shared that I used to work at a car lot. I worked as a car salesman. Back in the year 2000, 2001, 2002, and for a small stint in 2012. And one of the things I heard early on back in the year 2000 and 2002 in particular was that guys would start saying at the beginning of each month, hero to zero, hero to zero, hero to zero. And reason being, back then, a good month at the car lot as a car salesperson was making $7,000. But the reality was that come the first of the month, the beginning of the month, you're starting at zero again. And the challenge is trying to get back to that $7,000 number as you did the previous month. And you know what? That's kind of the way it is with gig work. And it's kind of the beauty of gig work at the same time. Now, a little over a week ago, I was coming off of my best week ever in the gig economy, and also within that week, my best single day. So at the end of my day, at the end of that work week, which was February 26, 2023, I made $1,875 in 6 days. So that's an average of over $312 a day. And within that week, I had, in this segment of the Gig Geezer, I documented how I had my best single day in the gig economy, in which I made over $615. But I knew at the start of Monday, February 27, 2023, I'd be back at zero. In fact, I finished this past week, which was the work week ending March 5th, 2023, I made $1,458. That was a more than 20% drop off from the previous week. You may wonder, was there anything I did wrong? I can't say that I did anything wrong. I didn't go to Charlotte and try to make $400 in a day and come back limping, barely making $200. No, I didn't do that. I didn't go. Now, what I did do one day last week was I happened to accept a roadie order that took me in the vicinity of heading to Charleston, and while I was over there, I caught another roadie from Charleston that took me to Charlotte. And so I was thinking that, well, maybe I would be able to make some more money in Charlotte, but it never happened. And so I ended up making just that day $240. In fact, I made $240, at least to the point that I made $240. I did it all within 5 hours, less than 5 hours. So I was okay with that. But there was nothing exciting about the week. You may say it was rather pedestrian. In fact, as I break down each day, in fact, as you look here, this is the actual apps in which I made the money. But what I'm going to do also, in addition to this graphic here, I'm going to put up another graphic in which I give the breakdown of the days. Monday, February 27, I made $233.85. The day in which I had that Charlotte roadie from Charleston, I made $240.96. Wednesday, March 1st, I made $245.73. I took Thursday, March 2nd, I took off March 2nd, 2023. I come back on Friday, March 3rd, I made $253.41. Then on Saturday, March 4th, I made $243.20. And on Sunday, March 5th, I made $241.49. Altogether, $1,458.64. Nothing exciting. Like I said, somewhat pedestrian. There was a $20 spread in my low and a high during the week. I averaged for 6 days, $243 and just south of 11 cents each day. Nothing really to jump up and down about. But intentionally, I also didn't provide any ride-along of any of the days that I put in last week. But as I mentioned already, you can kind of expect somewhat of a drop-off after a big week, even though you would like to try to take things to another level by your low being $1,800 a week. In fact, that is kind of my goal, as I've shared since becoming a cargo van / sprinter van owner. My goal is to make anywhere between $400 and $500 a day. That said, but by the very nature of gig work, there may be some truth that some have derided us as saying that what we make is inconsistent. Yeah, when you're in business for yourself, you're not going to make the same amount every day as you would on a W-2. That's just the nature of gig work. But that said, while you may not be able to predict what you make each day, and while you may not be able to say that you make a certain amount every day, there is a certain expectation that you begin to have, and so that expectation becomes somewhat of your basis to what you make. Now, I don't take any of what I've done for granted, because I know that the inexplicable can occur. I know that when you begin to be arrogant, that's when things will disintegrate on you. But there's also some other truths. I've heard people say that when you're in business for yourself, when you do gig work, but mainly when you're in business for yourself, we are the ones who limit ourselves. And there is some truth that what you put into your gig grind or hustle is what you're going to get out of it. You can't expect to just sit around and think that you're going to make $200 in 3 hours. You can't expect to do that sitting from if you're going to be a gig driver, you're expecting to make that from your living room couch. It's not going to work in 2023. So the challenge is within yourself. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. When we speak of the challenge being within ourselves, who wants to be on point for however long we're out there putting in our grind or hustle, anticipating our next money-making opportunity? Now that shit gets old sometimes. In fact, some may make the argument that shit gets old all the time. But the people who do make it somehow get beyond that barrier. And that's the challenge from within. Now, when we limit ourselves, it could be a matter of how many hours we put in our gig grind and hustle. Along those lines, it could be a matter of what we're doing while we're out there. And this is something that I'm guilty of. There are days in which I make what I make, but I could have stayed out there another hour or two. And so I got out what I put into my day. Now, there is a flip side to that. I could rationalize what I say, what I've just said, by the fact that, hey, I could stay out there another hour or two and don't make another dollar, and then I will feel as if I have wasted time out there. So there's a fine balance, but I think you understand where I'm going with that. There is the capacity of making more money if I stay out there, but I limit myself to what I've made. And that's not to say what I've made is some paltry sum of money. But anyway, we're going to move on from that. There were some lessons that I kind of learned last week, or there were some lessons that were reinforced to me while putting in that week, while making $1,458 last week. One of them is not panicking. Don't panic. Regardless of how good or how bad things may appear at that given moment, don't panic. Stay the course. Stick to your strategy. There's something about not panicking, because when you begin to panic, you're now putting yourself in a mindset in which you may limit yourself of what you aspire to make, what you anticipate of making, what you expect to make. And you can't. And what are your results when you begin to panic? Oftentimes, you have zero results. The next thing that was reinforced to me last week was being mindful of where you are geographically in your market. In other words, now I have often said, in fact, in this recent segment of the Gig Geezer, I happen to touch upon that I believe that you need to be in motion. You need to be in motion while you're out here. You can't just be sitting around expecting money is just going to fall out the sky and into your lap. It's just not going to work, at least in my belief and in my experience. But knowing where you are geographically, you can move around and in many cases put yourself in position for a better paying opportunity. In other words, you may put yourself in a position where you are at the right place. You are in the right place at the right time. The next thing is not being afraid to decline an order. While there's been much talk about acceptance rates on certain apps, rightly or wrongly, whether it is justified or not, don't be afraid to decline an order, because when you decline an order that you may feel is not worth your while, the next order may be worth your while. The next thing that was kind of reinforced to me was don't be afraid to unassign an order after accepting it for whatever reason. Now, it used to be rather sporting to do that a couple years ago. But then the apps kind of got smart with us, and in some cases we're being penalized for just randomly unassigning orders after we accept them. But there are times in which it is necessary to unassign orders. It could be because an order takes too long. It could be when you're working multiple apps, as I do, a better offer comes along. So why keep that order? But you still have to be judicious. I will say this: you still need to be judicious once you've accepted the order, because these apps expect us to complete the orders that we accept. But that does not mean we will complete every order that we accept. So, in a nutshell, when situations warrant, don't be afraid to unassign an order. In fact, I had a situation recently in which I had accepted. In fact, I shared it on this segment of the Gig Geezer. In fact, this was on a day that I made over $615. I'd accepted an Instacart order for $19. I was 5 minutes from the Instacart from that store, public supermarket. And then on another app, Ubereats, an order for $29 or $27.01 or $29 and change came across my screen. Well, which order did I take? Ubereats. That's right. So that's an example of unassigning an order, not being afraid to unassign an order. You just have to know you have to kind of know when is the right time to do so. Now, another thing that was kind of reinforced to me last week was having the belief that whatever out there is for you. In other words, some say what's for you, you're going to get. And I believe that's true. But when you've been out here putting in that grind and hustle, there's a certain confidence that you may begin to build within. And with that confidence, you begin to expect certain orders to come your way. I do that sometimes. In fact, what happens is I'm telling myself I'm due to get certain type of orders. I'm due to get a certain type of Instacart order. I'm due to get a certain type of DoorDash order. I'm due to get a certain type of ubereats orders. I'm due to get a certain type of ubereats order. And more times than not, eventually I begin to see those orders. So you may call it positive thinking, positive reinforcement, whatever. I'm just saying that there is a certain expectation that you begin to build for yourself when you've been out here long enough. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, I'm going to end this segment of the Gig Geezer with one last thought, or at least one last thing that was kind of reinforced to me last week. And that's having a short memory of not only the bad deliveries and the bad days, but I believe that you need to have a short memory of your great deliveries and your great days. Yes, I really believe that, because obviously when you're having a bad run of things, you don't want to saddle yourself with the bad thoughts, as some say, the bad energy, whatever you want to call it, we'll just stick with the bad energy. You don't want that hovering around you, because somehow it just inhibits everything that you do. But the flip side of it is when you dwell too much on those great days and those great deliveries, you begin to have unrealistic, you begin to do something in the opposite direction. You become rather delusional. And so having a short memory brings about a certain reality that you need to have when you're out here day in and day out. In fact, it helps me to understand that, hey, when you're at the next day, you're going to start at zero. The next week, you're going to start at zero. The next month, you're going to start at zero. And the next year, you're going to start at zero. The challenge is within you to be a hero once again. And with that, this is yet another segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Edward Lane, and as always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.